What's up, guys? Good to see you for a live Murder Metal Mayhem on a Sunday. Glad to see the usual group here waiting on me because I almost didn't make it. I'm sitting here jacking around. I was working on something for a little special thing I'm going to be letting you all know about. And so I got caught up in that, and I was making coffee and then spilled things all over myself and just making a mess of things. So apologize in advance for my wife having to deal with that nonsense. But we're here doing this live, and glad to be here with you guys. We got Alicia there, Misleading Evidence, of course, Donna Lembo, Karis with the Voice of Astrology. And so far, those are the ones that have said who's here. If you're here, let us know who you are, and if you're not a regular, want to let us know where you're at. Let us know how's everything going. The weather here is wild. Voice of Astrology asking about the weather. Wow, it's windy, like blowing around stuff all over the place. You can hear we got wind chimes, like 3 sets of them, and it sounds like Dream Theater showed up to play them. It's like insane. Three different musical pieces going on at one time. So yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's cooled down for sure. My wife said it was like 48 here this morning, so that's pretty cold for what it's been. But it's been just really, really windy all day and much cooler.
It's 60 now.
60 here now. So yeah. So hello, Sean. Good to see you in here. Definitely good to see everybody in here as we let people kind of filter in. Anybody want to be honest about what they're drinking? I mean, if it's mimosas, that's fine. I'm not going to judge. If it's Jack and Coke, then whatever. Or if it's some coffee in your Murder Metal Mayhem tumbler, whatever you got. Want to let us know what you're drinking? I did come up with some notes for today, so I'm not totally going to be just sitting here winging it. But let's see here. What do we got? So yeah, I do apologize for not being as in the mix as I usually am. Month of October has been really, really pushing getting this book done. I'm making such good progress; it's hard to stop. Honestly, it is hard to stop. I'm at 45,000 words right now, just under 45,000. Moving along at a good clip. About 75% done with the rough draft, and then start doing the editing. So yeah, it's really coming along very, very nicely. Very, very happy with the way it's turned out so far. I really didn't know how it was going to be writing nonfiction because I've never done it before, other than the stuff I write for the channel and the podcast. I've never written anything other than like notes, like for that kind of stuff. So it's uncharted waters, but been going really well, really, really well. So it's going to be called At Death's Door for anybody that doesn't know. It's going to be about my story the last year and a half or so, when it started with the necrotizing fasciitis and then the amputations and all that. And I'm not holding back. Donna's one of my beta readers. She knows. Not holding back anything. It's all getting put out there. The down, gritty, brutal truth of it all. Difficult stuff. The pain. I mean, all that kind of thing. So I think you'll be interested in the story because I've only been able to tell you summaries here because it's there's a lot going on with the story. But I'm happy with the way it's turning out. So I'm really, really glad that it's going so well. So yeah, Donna says got to keep the groove. My friend who writes, once she stops sometimes months before she gets back. Yeah, it's hard to say. I've been pretty fortunate. I haven't had like the writer's block thing or anything like that, but I do get in a rut where I'm just like kind of stuck, don't really know where to go. Um, and as Donna says, some of the parts are rough, but you just keep wanting to turn the page, which is what I'm trying to do, of course. And well, my mom's here. Very nice to see you, Mom. Very nice to see you. Um, and then, there's the third chapter where I talk about being intubated for the 12 days I was intubated. And obviously, I was intubated, so I don't know what the heck was going on around me, but there was a lot of stuff going on in my head, that's for sure, which you'll read about. But what I decided to do for that chapter, rather than leave it out, would be to have three people that were involved at the time, the most involved with me, which would be my wife, Jenny, my mom and dad, and my sister, Dina. And so they are all writing or have written pieces to go in that chapter to kind of tell the story from their uh, with from their point of view. A voice of astrology is asking what's intubated. That's when you get the tube down your throat, and that's helping you breathe. That you're on the ventilator, basically. That's what that means. So you look like something out of Alien or whatever. Not good. But I was like that for 12 days, and that's when I had all the crazy um, lucid dreams, which are part of the book, and how it was difficult to tell dream from reality, and waking up and not sure if I was awake, not sure if I was dead. I mean, a lot of weird stuff going on. So so it's going to be a compelling story, and I am going to be shopping it around to some publishers, see what they think. But that's all down the road as I get this thing wrapped up. So it's working out really well, and appreciate you being understanding about giving me a little bit of a breather as I get this writing stuff done. Because when I went into semi-retirement back in the fall of 23, seems like ages ago. I went from a normal 40-hour a week kind of guy, 30 years at the same job, semi-retired, to working 40 hours a month. And my plan was to start a new book. And before I started the new book, I said, you know what? Why don't I just try this YouTube thing just one more time? I'll devote some time to it and try to figure it out, and I'll give it a shot one more time. And if I don't get it done or it doesn't work out, I'll give it a few months. If it doesn't work out, I'll just ditch it and I'll start writing again heavily. And so that's what happened. So then I started working on the channel, and I watched video after video after video for a couple months, just totally watching what everyone else was doing. Wrote down notes of what I liked, what I didn't like, what was already being done to death, what hasn't been done yet, kind of stuff. And then came up with how I wanted to do it with the 666 seconds of murder. And so it kicked off big. I got the channel monetized in 2 weeks. It was like 10 days. I was like, holy crap. And so then it was like, all of a sudden, now I got to pump out all this content. So I got into it. It was a lot of fun. And then necrotizing fasciitis had some other plans with me in May, at the end of May of 24. So I had a few months, 6 months at it, and then had to drop out for almost a year. It was like 9 months or something like that, and came back. I mean, it's been crazy. So I think it's definitely an interesting story, but an answer to Shelly Klein here is asking, Pete, you feeling good? I am feeling pretty good. I'm sore, but I've got some issues going on. But after what I've been through, it it definitely takes something to knock me down. So I'm still forging on, and that's why I got this shirt. I kicked so much ass, I lost a leg. That's why I wear this shirt, because I just really don't care. I don't give a damn. I told you about that for the channel. I am not in any way needing this for money to feed my family. I'm doing this for fun, my enjoyment, your enjoyment. I'm losing some subs over it, using 4 or 5 a day, something like that. Hopefully, it'll pick up once I get videos cooking again. But I understand, people want content, and if I'm not doing it, then you're not getting the content. But I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm not going to put this book on hold over YouTube. I can tell you that. But want to get it done. That's the priority. My priority is writing that book, and it's going to get done, and it's going to get done, and it's going to get done right. My friend Mike is doing the cover, turning out amazing. He's a very talented painter, going old school with it. Instead of AI, I'm going old school, going painting, oil painting. And then we're going to scan it and then make it the cover. It's really cool. It's a mountain with these steps going up it. It's really cool. I think you'll dig it. The concept of at death's door. Yeah, it's wild. But that's right, Glenn. I'm a veteran. Veterans tend not to give up very easily, I would think, as people. Met a lot of really good people when I was in the Army. I met a few schlubs, but you'll have that. You'll have that. But thank you, Glenn. I appreciate that very much. All right. So Shelly's asking me, old school, can you tell us about the book? Well, like I said, the book is going to be about my story. So the story starts with me driving, my wife driving, not me, my wife driving me to the hospital at the end of May in 2024, thinking that I had an abscess that was infected and a raging back injury that I'd had from gets what got me out of the Army in 94. The injuries from 92, but herniated discs in my back. I had never had so much pain back there, but that's what we thought it was. And then, it goes through the whole thing. We were in the ER, and then the doctor telling me I have necrotizing fasciitis. I don't even know what the hell that means, so he's breaking it down. Oddly, 2 weeks before, I got a t-shirt, the last t-shirt I ordered, and I'm a t-shirt nut. The last t-shirt I ordered was a band t-shirt, a band from California called Necrot. What are the odds of that? I just got the shirt. I think I wore it once. And when I asked for my wife to bring some clothes to the hospital, she just grabbing stuff, and she brought the Necrot shirt. And I'm like, man, I don't know. That's just a little bit too soon, but I think I wore it like the following week. I'm like, screw it. But anyway, the whole trip of being rushed into surgery and taking me to another hospital is a crisis, multiple surgeries over several days. I'm intubated for the 12 days, which is very dangerous with the drugs they have to keep you under for that, fentanyl and all that kind of stuff. And then coming out of that and all that. So that's what it's about. It's basically about what happened to me these last 18 months or so. And 2 amputations, both on the same leg, so not two different legs or two different limbs. But yeah, so it's going to be a wild story. And I'm getting ready to have the second leg, or no, I just had in the story I'm writing right now. I just got the second leg amputation and going to start having some problems because it ends up getting infected and stuff. I'll get to all that. You'll have to read the book, right? As they say, you'll have to read the book, or maybe you'll see me like on one of these talk shows. Wouldn't that be cool? I'll be repping a Murder Metal Mayhem t-shirt if they do that. That would be really cool. That'd be really cool. Come out there in my new prosthetic. My new prosthetic I'll have by then. So oh, I hit the wrong one. Oh, okay. I see the t-shirt situation. You're talking about the Necrot shirt. Gotcha. Yeah, if you like death metal, go check them out. Necrot, they're really good. So can't wait for the book. Well, I thank you for that. I don't know when I'm going to release it. It depends. If the publishers are interested, that's going to change things some. But I do have several books out already. I have my Creation of Chaos series, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are all short stories. If I was to categorize it, I mean, it's horror, but it's like old Stephen King, not the new stuff. Old Stephen King, Clive Barker, Ray Bradbury, Robert Bloch, Peter Blatty, like that kind of stuff. Um, Also hugely inspired by Edgar Allan Poe, who I think is the best there ever was. Then you got H.P. Lovecraft, also good too. And so I liked some of the classics, Dumas. My favorite novel of all time is Dumas. The what is that book? It's escaping me at the moment, Jenny. What's the name of Dumas' book?
Count of Monte Cristo.
The Count of Monte Cristo. See, my wife is an English major. She's very smart. That's my favorite book. You'd think I could remember it, but that's what's called necrotizing fasciitis brain. But I love that book. I love stories of revenge. I think those are the best. All right, so why don't we get to business here? Got that merch store. I've told you about this. Um, Definitely digging on the new merch. Got a lot of great stuff there. There's the website if you want to go check it out. There's a sale going on this weekend on the whole website, not just our store. 35% off everything. They do those a lot, and you could save a lot of money with those sales. So if you're interested in something, go check it out. And it's also linked to several times on the page, so you can do that. If anybody's wanting to do tips or any of that kind of stuff, I'll leave that in the creeper for a while. But also this Tuesday, you don't want to miss it. Serial Killer Story Hour live with me, 1 hour, one serial killer. And this week it's going to be Israel Keys. I know several of you asked about him. We're going to do it. We're talking about the serial killer, the arsonist, the SAer, the complete piece of crap up there in Alaska with the snarky, annoying laugh. We're going to be doing some Israel Keys. So that's going to be awesome. Going to do some of that. I know several people were asking about Israel Keys. We've done that, done his topic on the podcast before. Yeah, if you're fiending for Murder Metal Mayhem, if you go on the podcast tab, there's like 280 something episodes on that you can listen to. The language is rough and the humor is rough, so if that's not your style, don't go there. But if you like that kind of thing, then go check that out. So I've got the short story collections, Creation of Chaos 1, 2, 3, and 4. They can be read in any order, doesn't matter. I've got 2 novels, Deeper Than Dead, which is a series. I wrote the book 1 is on there now, Deeper Than Dead. You can get it. It's amazing. It's got illustrations in it, 12 illustrations or 10 illustrations plus the cover. It's intense. Really great artwork in there from Brian Usual. And it's divided in 10 parts. So I'm hoping that maybe Netflix or somebody like that may take an interest in it. I'm getting ready to write part two. That's, wouldn't be, I've got like three different projects I want to start coming up, and I've got to make a decision quick on which one I want to do. So that's one of the options, is to write Deeper Than Dead 2. And then there's the Dreadful Lives of Enoch Strange. That's a novel I wrote. That's on there, on my page, PeteAltieri.com. I've got that. I should be putting that up here now while I'm talking about this. PeteAltieri.com. If you want to buy any of these, I sign them, and they come with a poster. I sign the poster for you. Now I've got somebody here helping me, can get orders out quicker. And then the T-shirts and all that T Public stuff, that's all them. They handle every bit of that. Um, so they ship it, they everything, and you get it in like a week. I mean, the service is unbelievable from them. Really, really good stuff. But I've got free samples here. So if you're not sure if you want to read my stuff, you could read the free samples and see if you dig it or not. And if so, then you can buy the books however you want to do it. And so that's that with the books. Want to thank Donna Lembo. I'm not sure if Catherine is here yet, but if she is, thanks to the mods out there. Of course, Donna Lembo, captain of the Mayhem Squad. She's amazing. She's always here. Not going to put up with any nonsense. And so before we get started in the first topic, I wanted to tell you about something that I'm working on. Is since it's October, and it's creepy season and all that, um, you know, uh, all the things that are going on in the world. I mean, it's nice to get a little break from reality. So I got thinking, it's October, creepy month. I write creepy. That's my thing. I've read two of my books. Two of my books are on Audible if you want to check them out. Creation of Chaos 3, Creation of Chaos 4, both on there. Creation of Chaos 4 is available on my website, so it's going to be cheaper there. So I would suggest that, and then you'll get a zipped file sent to you, and then you got the whole thing. But they're me reading the stories. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a few out, probably from both, a couple from 4, a couple from 3, and I'm going to make them episodes as videos here on the channel. And I'm going to do a little short introduction on video like this. And then I'll introduce the story, and then you'll listen to the story. Most of my stories are between 45 minutes and an hour. So a good amount of time, not crazy long. There might be a couple that are a little bit longer, but not much. They're all right around that time. So if you drive to work or whatever, it might be like the perfect amount of time for you to get in when you're driving to work or you're showering or whatever. But I haven't picked the stories out yet, but I will. They're on my other laptop. That was the holdup last night. I was going to start working on that last night. So with that, I've got some cool background music I'm working on with the Blunt Force Band to get some cool background music. So when I introduce them, there's some cool aesthetics going on as you come on, and then you'll listen to it if you want. And then I'll do 3 or 4 of them, and that'd be cool. I thought for October, because normally this time of year I'm doing appearances and stuff, but I haven't done any of that because everything that's been going on. But I have had a lot going on, but most of it's been tests and things I got to do before surgeries. I've got a surgery coming up on November 7th. It's uh, it's something that's got to be done to help me finish up the healing process with the necrotizing fasciitis. So I have to do that. I'll be in the hospital for a couple days, but I'll be back, back at it very soon after that. And, hopefully shouldn't miss much of anything. And then I have another surgery will be coming up after that, but I don't have a date yet. I've got to get another couple of tests done before they can even think about scheduling it. So I have a lot going on, and so that's why I haven't been on here so much. I've been just trying to relax and not overdo it, but at the same time, I want to get the content out there. All right, we got Mark and Betty here from the UK. Excellent to see them here tonight. Very good. Here's one from Josh. Perfect timing, Josh. Um, Anyone else on here see an issue with Bethany hearing the firework waking up and seeing a spark since light travels faster than sound? That's interesting. That's very interesting. I'll tell you what I think that is, Josh. I think that's like a stun gun or like a cattle prod or something like that. Boy, that would have been handy to have in there that night, right? You wake somebody up and hit them with that thing, and then you basically do what you wanted to for a good minute or two. So yeah, so that's my guess of what that was. Anyone else want to comment on what you think she heard or saw with the flashes? That's a good point about the speed of light and all that. But I'm just curious, what does anybody else? They say it works out perfectly with the cam on 1112 that hears the noise, and then the thud would be at right at that time when then this could have been happening. So um, very, very possible that that's what she heard at that time, because that's what she said. Mark and Betty said they love Pete's t-shirts. Yeah, I got so many t-shirts, it's ridiculous. If there was a small village that got hit with a storm and they needed clothing for all the fat guys in the town, they could come here. I could clothe them all. Clothe them all. That'd be a problem though, because I'd want them back. But I don't know. Somebody else wearing your shirt, it could be kind of nasty. I don't know, but I would help them out. I got so many shirts. I got a ridiculous amount of shirts. I did a video one time for an organization I used to run called Heavycore, and it was an organization of bands, like a union. I created the union to help the bands get shows and stuff, and it was a lot of fun to run the organization, who were all heavy metal bands all over the world. And I did a video for the organization called Roasting Posers, and it was all these videos that people sent in of the band's music videos. And my band was on there, and like all these other bands were on there. We had a bunch of people come over and we watched them on the video, and they were cheering, and we had like girls dancing. I mean, it was pretty wild. And it's got all these videos on it. And I told the bands, I said, if you send me a shirt, I promise I'll wear it when we record the DVD. So, oh my God, we had like 1,000 bands or more in heavycore at the time. I was getting so many shirts, it was ridiculous. I had record labels send me like 4 or 5 from their label, all the different shirts. It was ridiculous. So what I did was I piled them up on this bed at the house where we shot this at. My buddy's bedroom, he let me use his room to like change in. And I put all the shirts laying down one on top of the other. And over the course of the day, every time I was on camera, I would go in there, put a different shirt on. So I wore all the shirts through the whole thing. It was pretty fun. It was challenging to do it, but it was a lot. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. But I got a lot of shirts. I could definitely tell you that. So that was part of that whole silliness there. But let's see. Want to make sure I got everything caught up here. Okay, so I saw this post yesterday, in the community tab from Karis from Voice of Astrology about a case, a cold case from 41 years ago in Long Island. And when I first saw that, I thought, oh boy, here we go with Rex Heuermann, but it's not Rex. It's somebody else. I don't know if you guys have heard of this case before, but it's really interesting. And it was just solved. They got the guy. He's like 60 something years old and living in Long Island still. So I know that this is an open live discussion. So I thought I would open it up with that case just to talk about it. Yeah, Donna Lembo's right. Fusco or Fusco is how they say it. Teresa Fusco. But that was, 1985 or 1984, 1985, which brings back, that's the year I graduated high school, 85. So it brings you back. It brings you back. But let's check it out. I've got a video queued up. I don't do a lot of video with me like minimized in the corner, but I'm going to have to for this so I don't get dinged for copyright. Although, even if they do, these videos the lives don't make hardly any money. So I guess it doesn't really matter. But I'm going to minimize myself, and I'll come in a couple times with a quick comment just so I don't get dinged by somebody for not showing this uninterrupted. Let's see. There we go.
Coverage for you tonight. The district attorney says that suspect is responsible for killing a 16-year-old Lynbrook girl in 1984. Our Logan Crawford is in Lynbrook right now with the details on this 40-year-old cold case. Logan, good evening.
Good evening, Joe. A Nassau County homicide cold case has been solved again. Teresa Fusco was raped and murdered here in Lynbrook in 1984, and it rocked this close-knit community. Now, 3 men were originally convicted for her murder, but that conviction was overturned, and now prosecutors say DNA evidence has led them to the real.
Apparently, two of them got like 18 million out of that one. I don't know about the third one, but 2 of them got 18 million for wrongful conviction, but still, man, 17 years of your life, that's crazy.
Real killer, 63-year-old Richard Bilodeau, who they say lived on this block in Lynbrook with his grandparents at the time of the murder.
I only loved her and I miss her. That's all I can say. She lives in my heart, as you can see.
The death of 16-year-old Teresa Fusco of Lynbrook has been a mystery for decades. Now, prosecutors are charging 63-year-old Richard Bilodeau of Center Merches with her murder. Police and the FBI began surveilling Bilodeau in 2024, eventually obtaining his DNA from a cup and a straw from a smoothie he drank. They say his DNA matched the DNA found on Teresa Fusco's body. He was arrested Tuesday and charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder. Prosecutors tell us Bilodeau denied knowing Teresa when he was questioned over the summer.
He said people got away with murder back then. Well, let me tell you something, Mr. Bilodeau. It's 2025, and I got you now.
Is that not a quote of quotes? That lady is awesome. You got to love the no holds barred commentary from the DA on that one.
Prosecutors say Teresa Fusco was leaving her job at the roller rink on the night of November 10th, 1984. She then went missing. 3.5 weeks later, her body was found on December 5th in a wooded area here near Park Place in Lynbrook, about a half mile from her home. The district attorney says Teresa was raped and strangled to death. The DA would not go into detail about why they started investigating Bilodeau. In court, Bilodeau pleaded not guilty to the murder charges.
This county tried 3 different individuals, convicted them. Ultimately, years later, they were exonerated after the county dug in and tried another individual. There's a ton of stuff for us to go through. It's going to take some time.
Prosecutors say Bilodeau lived in Lynbrook in 1984 in his grandparents' house on Treadwell Avenue, a mile away from the Fusco home and the roller rink she worked at called Hot Skates. A neighbor who asked not to be shown says she remembers Bilodeau and would tell her kids to stay away from him.
I've known him for years. He was weird. Weird. Our kids were afraid of him.
The DA's office says Bilodeau has lived a quiet life, working at a Walmart in Suffolk. When asked about potential motive, the DA said she did not want to speculate. Teresa's father was grateful prosecutors continued pursuing an arrest.
And I'm very grateful for me and my family to come to an end like this than to constantly be a cold case situation.
The three men originally convicted of Teresa Fusco's murder were in jail for nearly 20 years, but their convictions were overturned because the prosecutor says based on advancements in DNA testing, which they say played a big role in this arrest. Joe?
Wow, a lot to take in there, Logan. Thank you for the latest. And the news of the arrest also sent.
So that's pretty crazy about this case. And somebody brought up in the comments about the similarities between this and the Long Island serial killer, case with Rex Heuermann with the pizza crust. And yeah, that's exactly right. They go into that here in the second. There's like 5 minutes of this left here. Teresa Morris says also class of 85. There you go. That was just a couple weeks ago, right, Teresa? Not that long ago. And sorry to hear about Janice, about her cousin that was kidnapped in 1989, walking home from school. That's horrible. That really is horrible. Very sorry to hear that. Let me finish this out here real quick.
Shockwaves through the Center Moriches community. That's where Bilodeau currently lives. No one answered when News 12 knocked on the door of his current home this afternoon, but we spoke with neighbors who tell us they're shocked and happy to know he's no longer around.
I was very shocked, and I'm very upset. It scares me to have somebody so close to the house.
I'm shocked that it happened, but I'm glad now that he's out of the neighborhood. There are a little girl across the street, and there are two little girls down at the end now.
Yeah, so the big question now is, how did investigators make this link all these years later? And it comes from DNA evidence. News 12's Kevin Vesey is here now to explain how changes in technology wound up leading investigators to the suspect, and these changes are happening so fast.
Joe, the technology is just advancing in leaps and bounds here. It's truly fascinating. So the DNA evidence in this case was more than 4 decades old, and prosecutors say it was used to find this suspect. Thanks to improvements in DNA technology, this is becoming a common way for investigators to move cold cases forward.
Things have changed since 1984. We didn't have DNA testing then.
Nassau District Attorney Ann Donnelly says we have DNA science to thank for a break in the 41-year-old cold case murder of Teresa Fusco. In 2003, as DNA technology was emerging, physical evidence exonerated 3 men who had served 17 years in prison for the crime. Today, prosecutors announced that same evidence pointed to the alleged killer after it was compared to a sample from a smoothie straw.
In 2025, DNA science and analysis is more advanced than it's ever been.
That smoothie cup was collected after officials say suspect Richard Bilodeau threw it away. That's strikingly similar to how officials say they grabbed the pizza crust from Gilgo serial killer suspect Rex Heuermann. And just 2 weeks ago, Nassau authorities used investigative genealogy to identify Susan Mann, whose body was found in a Freeport dumpster in 1982.
It's a simpler way of doing things.
David Sarney at John Jay College of Criminal Justice says we can expect to see even more breaks in cold cases as DNA technology continues to improve.
We have forensic genealogy going on. We have the new advancements in DNA analysis. These are things that are going to get these cold cases.
And the use of DNA technology in cold cases has been steadily increasing. The DA says that in Nassau County alone, investigators have been able to identify 5 suspects and victims using genetic genealogy in just the last 5 years.
Pretty interesting. So, we've talked about Rex Heuermann on here before. Oh, there's Catherine S. in the group. Good to see you, Catherine. And Rex Heuermann was caught with the. Sorry about that. Video kept playing on me. So yeah, it's a new technology. Of course, we know about it from the Idaho 4 when it came to getting Koberger's name on the plate, but a lot of us question, was that really, was that something that, was created in a lab, or did they really get his DNA? What do you guys think in regard to the DNA? I mean, there's been so much we've said about it, but while we're on the topic of DNA, do you think that the fact that the FBI doubled the sample size when they had the sample with no way to show their math on how that even became a thing is suspicious? Or do you feel the Othram Labs is the one that's suspicion, or do you feel both of those things were in play there? I see Voice of Astrology says perp 100% DNA match, not BS. Touch DNA. Yeah, it's touch DNA. So definitely different than the straw, because now you're talking about fluids. When you're talking about bodily fluids, now you're talking a different kind of DNA. Touch DNA with skin cells is a little more gray, as she correctly points out. Let's see here. Josh says if we accept the scene as it was left indicates what happened, then we have two crime scenes with two victims in each scene. Maddie and Ethan attacked precisely, almost professionally. Kaylee and Xana, the opposite. I would agree. I agree with your assessment there, Josh. I'd like to see what else you guys think. But I mean, I've always said I thought they were two squads, maybe 5 people, 6 maybe, 2 in each squad, or one squad hit each room. Because I agree, you have 2 victims killed very expertly, like done by a pro, and the other one done not so much. Like Xana had a bunch of wounds. Now, some of them were deep wounds, but a lot of them were kind of superficial wounds. That's why some have speculated, could it have been a woman and she just wasn't strong enough to get the deeper wounds that the other attacker had? Who knows, right? Or just a weaker person. Doesn't necessarily have to be a female, but I don't know. That's a really good question. But I've always thought that they were either hit at the same time with 2 squads, or they rounded them up in the living room and did it in the living room, and then the bodies ended up in the bedrooms. That's one thought I've had over the years about this case. Is it almost seemed like they used like a 3D printer to print out a GUN, and then they came in there with it, waving it around. So you're going to get people to shut up. And we were talking about earlier the sparkles and the popping sounds and stuff under Bethany's door. If we're to believe her nonsensical story, then who knows what that could have been? A stun gun, a cattle prod, something to seriously subdue somebody if they were wanting to start screaming and yelling. And then they just did it all one, either 2 at a time or 1 at a time, and alternated perps that did it. Who knows? I mean, it could have been done 1,000 different ways. But I'm not believing that it happened anywhere close to what they're saying it did. I'm just not seeing it. And I think if Koberger had some kind of involvement in it, I still doubt that. But if he did, it would have been like a getaway driver or something like that, that he was just the stooge that like a Lee Harvey Oswald, and he went down with the ship. They kind of set it up to where the evidence would somewhat point in his direction, and with somebody calling in and turning him in, that might have been all that they needed to be like, oh, here he is. here's the guy that we were thinking about. Now all of a sudden somebody's, calling in a tip. I mean, these are all people that were very, very acutely aware of the law, of how cops operate and how people get hooked up and hemmed up for different offenses. And if you get somebody with that kind of mind behind the scenes here, it could have been set up fairly easily, and the Moscow PD may have just been willing participants in it all. But I don't know. Let's see. Catherine says, in the very beginning, it was stated that Bethany allegedly heard a voice she recognized, but then never talked about it again. I do recall that, Catherine, that she talked about a voice she recognized. Never heard anything more about that. Never heard anything more about the evidence she's got. The evidence that she's got supposedly that would exonerate or help to exonerate Koberger. I mean, what's up with that? I mean, how is that even allowed to be kept private? I mean, seriously, if that's true, why in the world would you let this guy rot in prison? I mean, I just don't understand how that there's not a legal requirement when you've got a person's life in your hands, how that is not a legal requirement to have to be unearthed and explained in a courtroom. What's this all about? What's your exonerating evidence? Got my strawberry water, my Walmart water. Well, good to see you, Karis. Thanks for stopping in. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just amazes me that this could happen and not have to make that known. What was this evidence she saw? I mean, you had that the undercover, the defense investigator Batanti. He went out there to Nevada and talked to her. I just watched that newer Pavarotti episode about that. He kept mispronouncing the guy's last name. It was driving me nuts. Although I heard something he played said Batani or whatever, but there's another T in there. It's just one of those things that just drives me nuts with Italian names when people butcher them. It just drives me crazy. Anyway, Teresa says, yeah, definitely think him applying for employment with them and just giving his touch DNA. I mean, there would have been so many opportunities to get his touch DNA. It's not even funny. I mean, think about it. His office, his apartment doorknob, his car door handle, for starters. Okay. Just those things right there, for starters. Very easy to grab it, plant it on the sheath. They didn't provide the sheath to the lab. That, to me, when I interviewed that cop about DNA evidence, and he told me the fact that the sheath did not go to the lab with the everything intact, he was highly suspicious of that. Normally, you wouldn't extract the DNA off of something like that, especially in a case where there's so little material. I mentioned this last week, I think. I used to do building inspections for a living, and we used to have to analyze pieces of the building for hazardous materials. And if I saw, say, a piece of flooring and there was a glue on the back of the flooring, and let's say there wasn't very much glue on it, rather than run the risk of destroying the sample, I would send the whole piece to the lab and tell the lab to extract it in the laboratory so that it wouldn't be destroyed. And that's for something like what I did, not talking about a murder trial, for God's sake. So I don't understand how that would not be common practice to send the entire piece in for analyzing instead of trying to draw the sample out in the field by a novice detective like Payne with 2 or 3 years of experience. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. You mean to tell me there wasn't somebody more qualified than him to pull that sample? Come on. That's ridiculous. And here we go, Mark and Betty. A speck of DNA on a sheath and nothing at all in his car. Yeah, exactly. Nothing. Nothing. If there had been anything associated with him in that apartment, they would have found something in his car or his apartment or both. They didn't find anything. Very, very suspicious. You know, in that video we just watched, they talk about the cold case analysis and all this. DNA can survive all that, but yet we can't seem to get enough off of a button snap that he touched. You know, it just seems to me to be very suspicious that there's that little DNA in a house that's supposed to be known as a party house, and then they don't even go and analyze all the DNA. I mean, there's two unknowns, I think, or three, 2 or 3 unknown male DNAs in that house. And I want to know who the hell said that no to analyzing that. I mean, seriously, why wouldn't you analyze it? There would be no reason to not analyze it. None. I mean, what? Please, somebody give me a reason of why that DNA would not be analyzed. That makes any sense. I challenge you to do it. I challenge you to do it. Because if there's unknown male DNA in that house, then those are potential perpetrators. And if we're all talking about multiple people in that house swinging axes and whatever the hell else was going on, then it's probably, there's some DNA left behind. I just won't believe that some PhD student, I mean, I don't care. I mean, I'm not an educated person beyond high school, but I'm telling you that I don't care that he's a PhD student or not, because I don't think you can learn what you'd have to learn to do that job in a classroom. Yes, there are things that you need to know from the classroom. I get that. But to truly know how to do that job, you got to go out there and do it. Okay. So I don't never believe the idea of this guy being some sort of master criminal. No. I think the only people that I would consider like a master criminal are people that have been out there doing crimes and not getting caught. Not somebody circling the driveway and buying the damn murder weapon on Amazon, for God's sakes. I mean, that's just ridiculous. So he's the dumbest, most smartest person I've ever known. Let's put it that way. So I think that there's just way too many questions with this case. And I think it's going to forever be batted around on here. We're seeing it now just in this small group. You guys are generating some good topics. Here's Teresa Morris again. They had way too much time to clean up, for goodness sakes, before they called 911, being that there's hardly no DNA in a party house. The table out there in the middle of the floor with the cups, yeah, that's totally staged. I mean, for all I know, like I said, they could have been butchered in that room, and that table was collapsed and set aside. And then when they were done and they cleaned up, they threw a couple of cups on the floor, messed up the couch cushions, and set that table in the middle of the floor. And somebody without a damn speck of common sense set the cups up like they were, magically set up and not going to be bumped over. I mean, it would have made a lot more sense to have some of those cups on their side, a couple of them on the floor, make it look more like some sort of something happened in here versus nothing. I mean, I want to know how somebody in the dark would have been stumbling around in a house knocking into stuff. Then later we find out the lights are on. Even with the lights on, I'm sorry, running through that room, you're going to knock those damn cups over. I mean, unless you're, like a midget going through there. I don't know how you would do it. I really don't. Sarah here says if more than one person, definitely a group effort. I would agree with that, Sarah. I would agree with that. Christina says, I still say it was a gang hit and he was picked to play the part. I think that there's something to that. I've thought definitely party favors come into play here. I think that it's too obvious to not consider it had to have some sort of impact. You know, when you're talking about all those kind of party favors coming through there, you're talking about a lot of money. And if they were involved in sex trafficking as well, you got all that going through there. That corridor right through Idaho, boy, that was a huge, with them running up party favors from Mexico up through Arizona, up into Iowa, then up into Washington and Utah. I mean, that was huge up that way. And into Alaska eventually. I think that's where they were talking about. They ended up and then come right around the other way. So anything in that chain would be spread out pretty quickly. And Mark and Betty says they have their own theory, but two people. I think two or three could have done it. I think four or five would have been quicker because they could have hit them both at the same time with one person between the two helping as needed or being kind of a half lookout in case somebody showed up while this was all going on, you know. Catherine says the fact that the MPD said after Brian's sentencing that they could not prove Brian was in that house seemed really suspicious to me. I mean, yeah, exactly. How are you going to bring charges up on somebody who you said committed a quadruple homicide, but you have zero evidence they were ever there? I mean, does that make any damn sense to you? And they said that they had the sheath with Brian's DNA. Yeah, they did not send the sheath in. They had it still. My gut says it's in that evidence shed that burned up or burned up, you know. That's ridiculous. I mean, how does evidence burn up? I mean, so ridiculous. So ridiculous. I agree with you. I agree with you. All right, let's see here. Mark and Betty, the other guy is ex-military. Yeah, I think you're talking about Kopaka. Yeah, there's a lot of suspicion about Brent Kopaka. I know I did a long video on it. I interviewed a soldier I served with personally about his PTSD and how that would affect somebody like Brent Kopaka. So if you missed that, go check out the tab I have for True Crime Deep Cuts, and you'll see the Brent Kopaka episode there. It's like an hour long. It's got an interview as part of it that I think you'd like because it's very appropriate to that topic. But yeah, I mean, Brent Kopaka was a troubled guy, a lot of issues, unfortunately, real bad with PTSD. Um, he served. He was a ranger, so he was in the shit, as we would say. Um, saw a lot of stuff, I know, and that's rough. I mean, that's a rough deal there. And he was also an addict. We've heard from multiple people that he was, not doing well at the time, wasn't going to any of his meetings or anything like that. I mean, people were saying they couldn't get him to the VA. I don't know where the closest VA is over there, but it's amazing how different it is than here, because here, where I am in the Midwest, they take it extremely seriously about PTSD. So I would have a hard time believing that he would not be able to get some help for his PTSD unless he just didn't want it, which I'm thinking is probably the case. Because you can do your videos on your phone, your appointments. That's how I do mine, is on my laptop or phone, whichever I want. They're all video because the doctor is like an hour and a half away from me. So we just do them that way. So I don't know. A lot of concerns, a lot of mysteries around his death and how that all went down with the sniper, and a lot of just everything that touches that damn area seems to have some sort of stink on it. You know, I mean that's what I think, is that everything from that area just stinks. It's like it's got some kind of something on it. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Yeah, and then Christina says, and then claim that there's a sheath, so that how did they not place him there? So if his skin cells, that's a great point. If his skin cells are on the sheath, but you're not saying you have any evidence to directly tie him to the house, then how did his skin cells get on the sheath? Were they gotten from somewhere else? Because if that's the case, bing, 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 there you go. Something's going on. Some sort of something's going on. Melissa says, I actually think Brian did not use his car that night to throw off LE. How many times did they take that Phantom Elantra? Yeah, I mean, any of the stuff about the car, I can't do it anymore because it, to me, it's like puts me to sleep immediately. You can't see a license plate. You can't see any people in the car. You can't see any distinguishing markers or a bumper sticker or something. And if you're talking about, this car like it's like you've got irrefutable evidence that says that's him in that car doing these crimes, then I don't even know why the subject of the cars even gets brought up. I mean, it's ridiculous. Until the technology is there that these Ring doorbell cameras can get better video, then stop it. Just stop it. Because I don't know what good you're getting out of it. How many times have you seen one of those that's good video? Excuse me. So many times you see these videos and it's like real blurry. It's like, that's the best you've got, you know? And then Margaret says, yeah, exactly. And then where's all the blood? I mean, as I've said before, you've got Hunter Johnson in that bathroom or in the bedroom, Xana's bedroom, just after noon on the day after this happened, doesn't say a word, not one word about blood, about the smell, about bodily fluids and excrement and everything else that would have been in that room with two people expiring in that room. Would have been difficult to be in there with that door being closed all that time. Doesn't say anything, doesn't cough or gag or nothing, doesn't utter a word about it. And then 5 hours later, when Kathy Mabbitt decides to stroll in there and take a look, she's talking about it like Charles Manson and the family had a big party in there. And it's the worst she's ever seen, and it's horrible, and this and that. How does it go from one to the other? How does that happen? So to me, the answer is it didn't happen. So what do you mean it didn't happen? It didn't happen that way. That's for sure. So how did it get to that point? Or was it ever to that point? Did they just tell her to say that? I mean, watch those videos of her talking about it. She's obviously lying. She's looking off to the side. She's all nervous. And she's just reading off of talking points. They're telling her to say it was the bloodiest thing and it was horrible and this and that. They're showing drippings from outside the house, which I thought were refuted as being something other than blood. But every time I see it in the comments, I never see a resolve to the question. I thought though that stain out there was found to be something completely different. Because I don't know how you would get that much blood to be seeping out of the house. Think about it. Have you ever even seen anything like that before? No, I've never seen anything like that. And there's been some vicious, I mean, vicious, bloody scenes that I've, the Velisca axe murders, murdering 5 or 6 people with an axe, multiple floors. I mean, there's no sign of that dripping out of the house. And that was an old case, where you could say the construction maybe wasn't as good. So I don't know. I just don't see it. So yeah. I'm just looking here through the comments here. So yeah, Catherine's question here is a good one. I certainly have the same question: is why did he plead guilty right before the trial? I mean, some people claim that he found out his sister was going to be a witness against him and he didn't want to put her through that. I don't know. Not totally buying that one. I know his mother urged him to do it, and he was super into his mom. So it could have been that he did it out of respect for his mother that asked him to do it. I don't know. I also wonder if somebody got to him in prison and said, you either fall on the sword, buddy, and do your time, or we're going after your family. We know exactly where they are. So your choice. And he said, I'll plead guilty because he didn't want his family to be hurt. I would believe that. And then Sean Marie brings up a good point: to avoid the death penalty. So yeah. So picking the lesser of two evils, either I'm going to go up against this and potentially have the death penalty if I don't make it. But if you really didn't do it and you knew they didn't have the evidence against you, I mean, I know it's easy to say, being that we're not involved in it, but you would almost be like, screw it. I mean, I didn't do this. I'd rather be exonerated or executed than to sit here and live, my life in prison and have everybody in the world think I did this horrible thing. I'm just, I'm having a hard time with that part of it for sure. Yeah, I don't know what the stuff was. I thought there was an explanation for that. Because I've never seen that before. That just doesn't make any sense. To me. I mean, you would have had to have both of them in that room on that one side of the room bleeding for days before it would get even close to that. But, I don't know. I've never seen it, and I've dealt with a lot of my former line of work, storm damaged homes and stuff like that. Never seen that with water leaking out like that. So it doesn't seem right. So yeah, you would think, he would want to fight for his innocence. I mean, that's what most people would probably think they would do in that situation. But like I said, guys, it's easy to say that when, we're not the ones, facing, the death penalty, All right, it says, I think the stomach contents and the rate at which food was digested, of course, you would have to test each person's acid for the exact pH, and we could then possibly, I'm not sure what that means, have a real evidence of a timeline. Yeah, I mean, the stomach contents would have been interesting to see, because did these people really eat, like when we've heard that they ate, did Xana and Ethan eat a pizza at midnight and then they ordered Taco John's or Taco Bell 4 hours later. I mean, if they were all baked, I mean, maybe they got the munchies again. I mean, it happens. I mean, look at that kitchen was full of fast food bags. I mean, it's not like they probably haven't done that almost every night they were there, you know. So good points, good points. Let's see, Josh had a theory. Did I miss it, Josh? Okay, here we go. I wonder if he was catfished, maybe someone whose name rhymes with Gillen Gortonson, and he was lured to the house to be a setup. That's a good idea. I wondered if they were somehow duping him for that same thing. That was one way I thought that maybe him and Kopaka got roped into this, is they thought they were going off with these two girls, and they wound up walking into that. It's certainly possible. It's certainly possible, Josh. That's a good idea. Definitely a good idea. Deathany, you want to get one of those Deathany shirts, while I'm thinking about it. Let's take a look at some t-shirts that we got, some Murder Metal Mayhem t-shirts and stuff. Excuse me. Oh, T-Public. All right, I'm going to share this with you. So there you go, right at the top of the screen, 35% off site-wide. T-shirts just $16. And again, that's not just us, that's the whole site. But here on the Murder Metal Mayhem page, you've got our serial killer story hour t-shirts and stuff. And again, these are designs. You can pick one. Let's say Deathany. You like the Deathany shirt? It's a good one. You can click on that, and it'll show you what it looks like on a t-shirt. You don't have to stay with the black shirt. You could pick any color you want. You want to pick a different color, you can pick a different color. Okay. If you want one in tie-dye, you could pick a tie-dye Deathany shirt. See what I mean? You can do that. Then they got male and female fit, different types of shirts, from classic, tri-blend, premium, tall, active, V-neck, vintage, small to 5X, and you can order away. All right. These are all front printed shirts, nothing on the back. Then if you scroll down, they show you the same logo on some different things. So for example, the mug, if you wanted to get a mug, you can get it either as a coffee mug, which is pretty sweet, or the travel mug. That's the one that I've got, although mine is the Murder Metal Mayhem logo on it, but this is the Deathany shirt. So the way that this shows it from only one side, but it's right there in the center. It's the Deathany logo. All right. So that's pretty cool. And that's for all of the designs. So if you want to go with the classic Murder Metal Mayhem, just that, simple as that, go for it. If you want to take that design and put it on a hoodie or a hat, that looks good on the hat. The tote bags, I've got a tote bag here. I love it. This is a different bag, though, it looks like. What is that? Huh. That's a different kind of bag. That's pretty cool. I'll have to check that out. That's a different bag they've got now. It looks different. Maybe I'm seeing things, but it looks different. Shorts, I mean, you can go crazy here with this. And like I said, it's 35% off. Now, if let's say you're a big fan of The Sopranos or whatever you're into, you could search for it on here. They got all the designs that you might find with that on there. Different types of designs associated with The Sopranos or whatever it is that you like. So check that out. It's really cool if you haven't already done that. Okay. Let's see. If you haven't already, make sure you like the video, subscribe if you're not a subscriber, because like I said, I've been losing some subscribers because I haven't been pumping out the videos, and I get that, but I could use some help there. So if you don't mind, if you're not a sub, please subscribe while you're watching this so you can get me back to 15,000. I was just over it by a couple, and then I sunk down beneath it, and I'm like been that 14,800 something, really close, but not quite there. So would appreciate that. We're at an hour and a half, so I'm going to go about another 10 or 15 minutes. I keep these at 90 minutes. That's my rule. That's my rule with these lives. Oh, I wanted to do a free membership. Let's do that. If you have the ability while we're doing this to check your settings and see if you can receive gifts, then that's good, because I'm getting ready to give you a gift here of a free membership. I only have 5 of them. So that's how many will go out there. But if you don't have that option to accept the free gifts, then you will not get it. If you do, then YouTube is going to randomly select 5 of you. Okay. So let's try it. Let's try it. Here we go. Sending 5. There you go. Oh, I could see here. Satire got one. She's Just a Devil Woman got one. Great Girl got one. Chris Hartwick got one. And Miranda Renee got one. So very cool. Very cool. Glad that you guys got those. And wanted to do that before I forgot. My mom's hitting the road. Probably got to get dinner going. My dad's been watching football all day. He's probably hungry. But like to be able to do some gifted memberships when I can. Let me see if there's anything else. If you want to just help for free, you can like, subscribe. If you want to do a membership on the channel, I've got those available for $1.99 or $2.99. And what I'm going to do with those short stories that I'm going to make available, the first day they're up, they'll be for the members only. And then the rest of the people on the site will be able to listen. So the members will get it early as a thank you for their membership. At least a day, maybe more. I'll see. I'll see how many I've got and what I need to do. But there's no reason why I can't do some of that, help you guys get some free stuff, because you've been good to me, and I appreciate that very much. Appreciate that very much. All right, take that off. All right, anybody got anything they want to bring up? Anything they want say anything here before we go? Like I said, I'll be in the Serial Killer Story Hour Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central. Israel Keys will be the topic of discussion. And yeah, congrats to the winners. Thank yous to Donna and Catherine for being the mods today. And we'll continue this. I like these open discussions because I don't feel handcuffed into only talking about what's on the agenda. And if you guys like kind of bouncing around, I kind of like the ability to do it. So, very cool. All right, guys. Well, I will leave you for the rest of your Sunday to enjoy with your families, or football, or that Seattle-Toronto game tonight. My Yankees are out of it, but now I'm rooting for Seattle to try to pull this out. But I'm afraid they're going to hit a buzzsaw when they get to Los Angeles. But wow, those Dodgers got one hell of a team this year, as they did last year too. They beat the Yankees, but man, they added pitching, which is already good. They really just killing it now. So, but all right, guys, well, have a good evening, and I will see you next time.
Yeah, I've heard it all before. It's just the outro and I'm out of here. If you did, you wouldn't be loving this sick, weird groove. Thanks for watching, leave a comment to help us get out to more. Smash that like and subscribe before you go. You must be some high achiever to watch this whole thing. Copyright 2025 by Horns Hot Productions. Yeah.